Spoiler alert, the Americans did the impossible and won. The mystery, how was that possible? Britain had a large professional army, mastery of the oceans, a strong banking and capital market system, manufacturing, rule of law, and a professional bureaucracy. The Americans had effectively no financial system or banks, a weak government, a smaller, undisciplined army with poor prospects for procurement, no tax system. Probably a third of Americans were loyalists to the crown, and there were substantial regional differences. Mission 1: don't let the government, the Continental Congress, get captured. Fleeing is okay. Mission 2: don't let the army get captured. British troops came close in New York. Washington eventually fled, and the army got a lot of practice at that. 3: keep the army in the field, even a starving army like at Valley Forge. Hope for success somewhere. Trenton and Princeton at the end of 1776 and the surrender of Burgoyne at Saratoga in 1777 were just the ticket. Add Ben Franklin diplomacy, and France declared war on Britain. The food mystery was another humiliating horror story. Think about what it meant. Valley Forge, northwest of Philadelphia, in the winter and spring of 1777 and 8, soldiers suffered from battle fatigue, remaining cold day and night, with poor clothing, little to eat, with various ailments like dysentery. Some 2,000 soldiers died. This was only the most infamous of the 8 winter encampments of the Continental Army. The Continental Congress pledged to feed, clothe, and arm the military. They did print money, which was generally accepted near face value at the start. Generally, there was little interest in taxes, and the Continental Congress had no taxing authority. They were not prepared for a long war. The official daily ration was not bad. Washington's Boston troops were allowed a pound of bread, a pound of beef or pork, a pint of milk, a quart of beer, peas or beans, butter, possibly whiskey, eggs, and rice. Food was normally issued uncooked, with some cooking utensils, including a kettle. Clothes, soap, a plate or trencher, spoon, knife, canteen, and a haversack were expected supplies. In 1777, Congress offered a suit of clothes to new recruits, which didn't last long, dramatically different from the British redcoats. Later in the war, many would go barefoot. The most common weapon was the musket, firing a single shot ball. These were bulky and slow loading. Bayonets were needed given the long loading times of muskets and close range. So many reasons: transportation, food hoarding, destruction of crops. Logistics can be difficult even with competent quartermasters and full funding. Consider keeping up with a traveling army of thousands, even worse if they're retreating. As the war dragged on, paper money issued by the Continental Congress had less and less value, to the point of pennies on the dollar, with farmers and merchants refusing to sell. Quartermasters could be incompetent or corrupt. Nathanael Greene was appointed Quartermaster General in 1778, improving the amount and quality of both food and clothing. The hypothetical list of rations at Valley Forge included reduced amounts of bread, meat, beans, and whiskey, but delivery was rare. Officers noted the army was both starved and naked. Connecticut's governor sent 300 head of cattle, which was consumed within 5 days by the hungry troops. Early in 1778, heavy runs of fish on the Schuylkill River meant all the men fished with baskets, pitchforks, or bayonets. A common meal was fire cake, flour paste baked on a campfire stone, considered a Valley Forge specialty. If that was it, additional food meant foraging, hopefully with someone knowledgeable about what plants were edible and how to cook them. Unfortunately, pet dogs became food. That's what it took to stay alive. Washington was the commanding general and often served diplomatic functions dealing with French or other dignitaries. Consequently, he had his own elaborate mess chest ready to eat with his staff or dignitaries. As a Virginia aristocrat with hundreds of slaves, he was used to luxuries even during bivouac. Washington was surrounded by black servants at Mount Vernon's mansion, 10 in 1799. Washington's black valet during all 8 of the war years was Billy Lee. Richer officers often had servants and occasionally wives at winter quarters. That included Martha Washington. Washington led the siege of Boston, and the British forces withdrew. Washington attempted to defend New York City, but Britain's superior forces captured the city quickly in the summer of 1776, which they held for the remainder of the war. Washington was lucky to withdraw, then attempted to defend Philadelphia. The Continental Congress withdrew to Baltimore. Washington won minor victories at the end of 1776 at Trenton and Princeton. Then a major victory happened when British General Burgoyne surrendered his forces at Saratoga. This was enough for France to enter the war as an American ally. General Cornwallis had success in the southern states, but ended up surrounded and surrendering at Yorktown in 1781. That effectively sealed American victory, which became official with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Most loyalists left. Founding father John Dickinson drafted the Articles of Confederation of what he called the United States of America, possibly inventing the name of the new country. What to make of this new nation? Next time on Food History and Mystery.